it's crazy. These are people who you love and respect and are a fan of, and to be able to, send them a text or see them in the hallway at the club, at the comedy club, and be like, hey, how's it going? I mean, it's like, oh wow. Like even when I did, the Rogan podcast in the beginning, I was like, man, I'm very excited. I could barely sleep last night. I told him I had my outfit laid out and everything. That's true. It's like,
I got 2 kids, ages 70 and 71.
I didn't even know he was taking care of his parents. I didn't know any of that.
Oye, acuérdese de que le vamos a decir al doctor ahora del azúcar que se le está subiendo.
I'm sure we've all heard it where it's like it takes a village to raise a kid, but it's like it also takes a village to help somebody age gracefully.
Ahora sí, vámonos.
What's up? How are you?
Dude, I'm
nice
listen.
Office.
No, I know. I got the office here. We got to do the Zoom. Jesus, it's been a couple of years since last we talked to you, and everything that's happening now in your life, I've been seeing what has been happening with you the past few months, the special, this documentary, the fact that like you have now ascended to that next threshold in the comedy scene, and it's all kind of happening at the same time, representing all the work that I've seen you put in, buddy. How do you feel, dog?
It's I don't know. It's like I'm happy the work is seeing the light of day. I mean, in this business, we do so much work and only so much of it is actually like gets put out. And I don't know. I'm happy. The journey has been like super fun. I've been working hard. This is an exciting time.
Dude, but the way that you're breaking through, especially for, the Hispanic, Latinx community and especially comedians, you were one of the few comics really ascending through like the Comedy Store. Actually, every club welcomes you. So it was cool to kind of see you work up and finally get to a point where like the biggest names in comedy recognize you, recognize your talent, do you feel, do you still have that mentality where you're still coming up in the game, or do you now have like a little bit of a comfort level that you've gotten over that, that level that seems to be so hard to get over?
I don't know that I've ever achieved any comfort level. I'm always just trying to I feel like I always just have this feeling of I'm starting out, I'm trying to hustle, work my way up just like I would when I first started. It's like the hustle that I had when I worked the store and I worked the door and parked cars. I feel like I still have that mentality. And, people say you should take time to enjoy where you are, and it's cool and all, and I try to, but it's kind of hard. It's all, there's so much that I want to accomplish, and I just kind of keep working hard. I'm grateful and I'm flattered for these opportunities. I mean, I never thought in a million years I would get, to have these opportunities.
Dude, but I think that's part of like the immigrant mentality, right? Which goes to your parents, which will circle into the first project I want to talk about. This documentary, that's awesome. I've always heard, a lot of the stories about, you and your parents from your comedy, from your sets at the clubs. And it's cool to see your actual parents, see you taking care of them and see this journey. So tell us, it's called Care to Laugh.
Yep.
Tell us about the documentary and what we see in it.
So the documentary Care to Laugh is a documentary that's out now. You can, rent it, stream it. And it's a documentary that AARP Studios put together a few years ago. It started with a study that they did with Google, and they wanted to find out what caregivers needed the most. And the study concluded that caregivers need 2 things, and it's laughter and it's time. And AARP Studios put together a night at the Hollywood Improv where they brought out caregivers and caregivees for a night of comedy and a nice dinner. And that show was a success, and they wanted to do it on the East Coast. They wanted to do it in New York, and they reached out. They're like, can you do, Care to Laugh in New York? And unfortunately, I was unable to do it. And it was because my dad was, sick, and I had to take on more responsibility at home. And, I got to meet the people over at AARP Studios, and they reached out and they said, would you want to be the subject of a documentary? And I spoke to my parents, and I kind of left the ball in their court, and they said yes. And for a year, they followed my parents and I, and this documentary showcases me pursuing comedy, following my dreams, taking care of my parents, and everything in between. So it's a story that's common. I mean, one in five millennials are caregivers, and I fit under that demographic. And you know, this is a story that resonates with people all over, because you know, where the baby boomers are getting older and the millennials are having to step into the role of caregiver. And that's, on top of that, culturally, that's just what we do.
Tell me more about behind the scenes, how the documentary came together, because it seems like you had been working on this kind of story, one way, shape, or form, for years, right? At what point did it come together as were you working on this documentary before AARP got involved, or did they get involved and you're like, hey, you hear me talking about my parents and I take care of my parents, you know, let's put this on a documentary?
Yeah, that's basically how it happened. I mean, I was always, you know, as a stand-up, I speak my truth, and I've been a caregiver from such a young age that's what I talked about. That's what I knew. Like that was my expertise about living with my parents and taking care of them. So when they reached out to me to be a part of the Care to Laugh event that they did, that's when they, you know, found out more about my story. And then AARP was the one that approached me and said, would you want to be the subject of the documentary and kind of tell this story? And that's basically how it happened. And it kind of, you know, complemented the other things that I was doing. I was talking about my parents on stage. So there's a seamless kind of segue going back and forth that you can toggle between the documentary and what I talk about on stage.
How did your parents feel about having a camera crew in the house? Because they seem like so nice and like reserved. Like I don't know how you know, how did they react when you said, look, we're gonna film all this?
Well, I mean, they agreed. They said that it would be fun, and I don't think they really understood what it was, you know, once they saw the camera crew that was going to follow us around. But to be honest, the AARP studio crew, I mean, the people behind the scenes, I mean, just treated my parents like so wonderfully that it was just awesome to see, and they felt so comfortable. So I say initially it was a little tough because I kept telling my dad, don't look into the camera. He like look dead into it, you know? So, I mean, it was a fun experience to work with my folks in that capacity. It was like super cool. And you know, we shared a moment in time with the viewers at home. I mean, it was a tough time. I mean, during that time I got the Late Show. So that was unexpected. That was not even set up or anything. It just, as they're doing the documentary, the opportunity to be on the Late Show at that time came up, and it was a nice moment in the documentary. Yeah. I mean, it was a piece of good news that was well received during a time of a lot of chaos.
Well, you know, you got to capture a lot of, like you said, the chaos and the good stuff. I mean, just because considering where you're getting to in your career, and I don't know that you're the kind of guy that's always videotaped everything on his phone like some people. It was nice that was captured, that this part of your life is being captured by a professional camera crew and not just you and your phone.
Yeah, no, because I definitely did the thing on my phone, and they incorporated a little bit of that. But right. I mean, this was a professional crew. I mean, it was AARP Studios really wanted to capture this in the best light possible, and I think they did a great job. I mean, obviously, I'm a little biased, you know. They followed my family and I, but I mean, it was just a wonderful experience working with AARP Studios, and you know, people could go watch the documentary out now.
You know, a thing about your act, why I feel that, you know, you're really finding success is that, you know, as much as we want to say, you know, you're a Latino comedian and we want to put that on your shoulders, that you have to carry, you know, all the struggles and challenges of your community into the limelight. At the end of the day, you're very individual. Like, you're an individual. You have a very individual story that different people can relate. You know, people that are not from your background, you know, or community, they can still relate to your story, the way you are with your parents, or they can relate to how they don't relate to you. They can see somebody that's smart and, you know, has a funny observation to make about life. And you kind of cross that boundary, and you definitely resonate with all kinds of audiences. I've seen you capture the attention of, you know, white, black, brown, all kinds of colors. You travel the country. What is it about the way that you have established yourself as a comedian that you think, you know, crosses over other, for lack of a better word?
I think I just speak, like me speaking on personal journey, you know, what I know best. And yeah, it's like, I feel like it resonates. Like you said, it's like, yeah, I'm Mexican-American. I'm American. I was born here. My parents are from Mexico. But this story, I think, transcends more than being, you know, a Latinx story or whatever. It's a story about a relationship between parents and son. Right. And I talk about it, and I think it resonates with people. Either they know somebody in this situation, or they're going through it, or, you know, it's like when you watch a movie, they're either drawn by it or they can relate to it. And I think I'm able to kind of capture that, or at least I tried to not alienate anybody, include everyone, so everyone's laughing and enjoying this moment that I either talk about on stage or you know, if I write something.
You also have like, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You also have like the smart thing going on, which is always refreshing because look, I have no problem with us being like the gangsters and the mafiosos and that, you know, because look, you know, sometimes that's cool and it's entertaining and there's something captivating, compelling about like the criminal underworld and the street culture that's very prevalent. But it's nice to see like the smart guy with glasses who's responsible, who's not going to get wild and crazy, who's going to go take care of his. I'm glad that you're representing that aspect. And hopefully find his way into more like, you know, shows and movies and all that kind of stuff.
Totally. It's fun because it's like in this business, as you know, it's like whatever your likes are or whatever that is, you dive into it and you find like-minded people and even if they're not like-minded, they'll consume that content and learn something. So I think it's great. It's like in this business, I found even with like Tacos Con Todos, I mean, that's a web series that First Free Feast reached out in Complex, and it's like, hey, do you want to talk about food? It's like, hey, I'm a big fan of food. It's like, and I get to pay homage to my culture, talk about tacos, but also like to have a legitimate sit down with comedians. I mean, that's an example. I did I produced this show with All Things Comedy about golf. It's like, right. I love golf, and I get to talk with comedians and play golf. So it's like, I feel like the real like cool thing about this business is that whatever you like, you put it out there, and it's like if I'm into this or that, great. If not, you know, I like the people that like what I like are eventually going to find me. So that's fun.
Yeah, and I think also like all the cool comedians have found you like as a friend. So I've seen the Tacos Con Todos. I always, God, whenever I have to put like Spanish words and English words together, I always like make the Spanish words more English and the English words more Spanish. And
oh no, all good.
Con todo. I saw the one with Brandon Schaub and Joey Diaz, my Cuban brother from another mother.
That's right.
Like, so like, you've really built a lot of like comedians stick together. Like you feel like you have personal relationships with comics, is, you know, especially with the COVID era now and comedy clubs are closed down. And it just feels like you guys really have to like support each other even more. Like, how have you felt the past couple of years as far as like making friends with the Joe Rogans and the Joey Diaz's and that whole, you know, that whole crowd?
I mean, it's crazy. These are people who you love and respect and are a fan of, and to be able to, you know, send them a text or see them in the hallway at the club, at the comedy club, and be like, hey, how's it going? I mean, it's like, oh, wow. Like even when I did, you know, the Rogan podcast in the beginning, I was like, man, I'm very excited. I could barely sleep last night. I told them I had my outfit laid out and everything. That's true. It's like, even though these are people who, you know, I see on a daily basis and have been very kind and generous, you know, generous friends, like I still get excited. And it's like, I think it's one of those things. It's like, I love comedy so much. I'm a fan of it. I'm a student of comedy, that when I'm able to work with comedians of all levels, I'm just excited because it's like we've come together. It's like people from different walks of life have come together for this one thing, and it's comedy, making people laugh. There's something very special about that bond, I think.
Okay,
yeah, it's like I feel fortunate.
I'm gonna ask you completely unrelated questions now, just because. So, what is Joe Rogan's studio like? I heard it's like a compound, so it's like a podcast studio, but outside of it, there's like bow and arrow things and wolf things.
It's like it's like an adult treehouse. All the cool things that you would want as a grown man are in there. It's like, yeah, all these cool things. I didn't walk around too much. You know, I wanted to keep put. You know, I was just so like in awe. But the studio's there. He has like nice cars and, you know, a pool table. It's very beautiful. And when I look at stuff like that, it's like, man, you know, he's able to have all of this because he earned it. He worked so hard that he got to a point where this is what happens when you do what you love. And I don't know this to be true, but I feel like it's probably true that he went down a path that doing something that he loves and didn't really expect any payout in return. Eventually it just kind of happened. And, you know, that's very motivating and inspiring because it's like, I'm doing something I love, and through comedy, I'm able to take care of my parents. I'm able to put a roof over our head, and buy a cool thing here and there and have a little extra money for ice cream or something like
Nice.
that. It's nice. It's a good.
You get the tacos for free with Tacos Con Todos, so you kind of
That's right.
You kind of time it. Hey, when you did Tacos Con Todos with Brendan's shop, did you really do a workout, or did you guys do like a little workout and pretend for the camera?
Oh no, I thought I thought I was gonna beat him up the hill, all kinds of stuff. I showed up pretty cocky, and I'm like, there's no way. Like we weigh the same, and it turns out there's a lot of muscle that Brendan's shop has, and we did a big training. I mean, I started like my vision started fogging up. I'm like, oh, I need to sit down, and they give us those little water bottles. He's fast, he's quick, strong. I am none of that. I'm just tall. That's it.
I think you got him on the comedy game, but we'll just keep our.
No, not at all. No, hell no. He's super funny.
Years on him. You have more. No, he is, and I'm actually a fan of him, and I love his podcast. Dude, just talking about how everything's coming together for you. One thing that we didn't mention was the Showtime special, man. The 1 hour special that came out a few months ago. Stay at Home Son. So how do you feel about how that went down, and why the title Stay at Home Son?
Stay at Home Son, my first 1 hour special, streaming now on Showtime. It's a dream come true, and I was able to record it at North Hollywood at the El Portal Theater. My parents came down. It was such a awesome moment. I mean, I only dreamt of it as a kid. It was like it was only a dream, and now it's like to have it come out and people see that hour special, Stay at Home Son. I just thought it was super funny. People thought that I named the special because of the pandemic. I did not. I landed on the title of it back in August of last year because I recorded it November 2nd of last year. And then when it came out, people were like, oh, like, the timing of that title is so perfect. I'm like, I wish I would have put like a comma in there, Stay at Home Son, but it's Stay at Home Son. And it's just like a self-deprecating one-liner, like, I'm a stay-at-home son, basically.
Oh, I thought it was maybe because like your parents say, stay home, son, don't go out, it's dangerous out there.
Yeah, you're just a stay-at-home son. I wish I would have put the comma in there, but it worked out. Everything happened how it was supposed to, and I'm just happy I landed on that title August of last year.
Okay, so now what happens after the 1 hour, that 1 hour special? All those jokes are retired, or do you still use them when you go on the road and you think maybe people haven't seen the special and I got to work on a whole new hour and a whole new set?
Yeah, that hour is pretty much done. It's not like I could re-record it anywhere. And usually what happens is that once a comedian puts out an hour special, they hit the road and they promote it, and they use that time of promotion to kind of fade out the old jokes and bring in new jokes. But with the pandemic and everything, it's kind of, I'm just waiting for everything to open back up so I can have a consistent workflow so I can build that new hour and hopefully have a new hour special soon. But I mean, who knows when things will open up because of COVID.
Okay, well, let me ask you on that. Just expand on that. I mean, you guys are talking, what's up with the Comedy Store? Open air shows maybe, or, outside shows. Is there anything that you're hearing, as far as when things might start to open up?
I haven't heard anything. I mean, it's kind of a tricky deal, especially here in California. The restrictions here are quite different than in other states. I did go out on the road during this pandemic with Bert Kreischer. I opened up some shows, and he did drive-in movie theaters, which was great. It was the first of its kind. He was the first comic to do a touring comedy show at drive-in movie theaters. It was fun, but it's different. You can't compare it to a comedy club, but we did do comedy clubs. What's that?
You're performing to cars. It is a little different.
Yeah, you're performing to cars. It's a different setting, but we did do comedy clubs, and I went back and did some comedy clubs in Salt Lake and Phoenix, but things aren't really open up yet. So it's going to take some time, and hopefully the Comedy Store is able to open up before the end of the year. That'd be really cool. Hopefully California can find some kind of middle ground that works for comedy clubs and people's safety.
Okay, just a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
And then as soon as I say that, I forget the question I was going to ask.
Oh no, I'm good, brother.
No, I got you.
Okay.
It always happens to me, and I'm doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And in the documentary, it shows how you still go to open mics. When everything opens up again, Jesus, you're beyond the open mic. Are you still going to be hitting the open mics off Melrose and stuff, or is that part of your life over?
Of course. No, man, I can't. I'm different in that way because some people, like some of my peers early on were like, I don't get anything out of an open mic. And that's a valid thing. It's like, some people just don't get anything of it. I personally find value in going into an open mic, even if there's nobody there. A couple peers are kind of waiting to get up to talk into a microphone and, you know, me verbalizing the idea. I think there's something that happens for me personally. It may not be for everybody, but I still find some, you know, I still find joy in doing an open mic.
Yeah, you know, I had my little heyday of going out and doing comedy for a year or two, and I remember doing like an open mic in the back of like Sal's or like Marty's was basically masochism that I would throw myself into, and when I went home and showered off the air, I felt better about myself. So, but I do think that you'd be gracing the presence of an open mic at this point when you show up. I think that you're the perfect comedian for like any corporation or organization to get behind. I'm sure you've heard this from your friends in the comedy world because you are scandal free. Like you're not somebody that's gonna get. If anybody wants to cancel you for anything, they're just like horrible. You're like the best guy in comedy right now. Like, how do you feel about that? You think you're ready?
It's a cool thing because it's like, I always, since the beginning, when I wrote jokes, like I always was hyper aware that I didn't want to offend anyone. I didn't want to make fun of, like I always brought it back to myself. And I felt like if I talk about myself and I always have this self-deprecating approach to comedy, it's like, you can't go wrong, because if they laugh at me, it's a disarming thing that in case I need to kind of expand on a premise and take it into the audience, it's like people are willing to give me that give and take. It's like, we laughed at you, let's laugh at us. And I also just talk about my family. I talk about an experience. So technically it's always coming back to me. And I think that's kind of, for me personally, I mean, there's all kinds of comedy out there, but I feel like that's a very awesome way when, someone can go out there on a date, they're there with their family, and they can come and see, comedy. That's why one of my favorite comedians is Brian Regan. That's somebody that the whole family can enjoy. And he's not sacrificing funny for it being clean. It's like, and that was a big takeaway watching Brian Regan, which I'm a huge fan of. I'm like, man, like there's something to be said about that.
Lastly, when the next time you go visit Ari Manis at his apartment, come visit me. I live on the second floor. I don't want to give away the apartment number because I have a stalker. But come upstairs. You remember, I ran into you down there when you were with Francisco.
Yeah. We were recording a podcast.
Down in his garage.
Yeah, that's right.
Dude, I had Ari on the Zoo like a few weeks ago because I needed somebody to come into the studio. We had socially distant, safe, shoot, but he was willing to come in. He tried to make some jokes. They felt completely flat, but there's something about Ari Manis when he tries to be like a dick. It actually comes across as funny when you watch it on tape.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, Ari Manis, I'm a big fan of him. He's so funny. He has his own style. It's second to none. He's a guy who hustles, and it's just, yeah, he's gonna be all right. He's funny.
He's my downstairs neighbor, and he knows way more about me than he should know because I'm Cuban and I'm loud and he hears every conversation. All right, dude. So everybody has to check out Care to Laugh. When can we see that and where?
Care to Laugh. You can download it wherever you consume movies. You download it. You can rent it. It's out now. Stay at Home Son on Showtime. No comma.
Stay at Home Son, no comma. Showtime.
Stay at Home Son, Showtime. Out now. Also, season 2 of Tacos Con Todos drops next Tuesday, August 25th, and the trailer is out now. If you want to see the trailer and see what you're gonna get season 2, check it out now. First We Feast, and thank you so much, man. It's great to see you.
Yeah, man. Good to see you two again and talk again. And I can't wait to see you in person again soon. Hopefully things start settling down and we can enjoy your comedy in person like we used to.
Yes, sir. Take care, brother. Great to see you.
Take it easy, Jesus. You've been on Check It Out.
Check it out.
Peace.